Have you ever been diagnosed with restless leg syndrome, but the iron pills or medications you've been given for it aren't giving you any relief? Or do you struggle with chronic fatigue and you've been told it's from restless leg syndrome, but nothing you've tried makes you feel more rested? If you've ever spent nights Googling restless leg syndrome treatment or restless leg syndrome causes, you know how frustrating RLS is. When I was diagnosed with restless leg syndrome in middle school, I felt the same confusion and frustration about my restless leg syndrome. I was told it's because I had low iron, I took the supplement, and it maybe helped a little, but I still felt exhausted throughout the day. It wasn't until I became a functional health practitioner that I figured out what was causing my restless leg syndrome and how to treat it and myself in a way that actually worked. So hence, I no longer have it. Now I've found complete restless leg syndrome relief, which my husband is very grateful for. And today I'm going to teach you how to do the same. In today's episode, we're diving into the real root causes of restless leg syndrome, the ones most doctors never mention. You'll learn how restless leg syndrome connects to your brain, your iron levels, airway health, and even your gut health, and what steps you can take to finally find restless leg syndrome relief naturally. Restless leg syndrome is not random, and you're not stuck with it for forever. It's time that you find the root causes of this syndrome so your legs and your sleep can finally find some peace. Hey friend, welcome to the Better Belly podcast. If you're currently trying endless supplements, doctor visits, and diet changes to heal your mystery symptoms, you are in the right place. We're here to solve the real root causes behind your gut, hormones, skin, sleep, and brain concerns. Literally anything and everything in your body. My name is Allison Jordan. I'm a functional medicine practitioner that has supported over 150 clients just like you to heal problems that no one has been able to fix. You don't need a perfect diet or a random supplement you found on Instagram to heal. You need a proven system that heals your whole body from the inside out. That's what I'm here to share with you, episode by episode. It's time to make health easy again. And just as a reminder, this information is not meant to diagnose, manage, or treat disease. Always consult with your own health practitioner before you make any changes to your health. So, restless leg syndrome is something that it's not like the most common thing I get have clients ask me about when they work with me, but it's something that comes up like maybe once a quarter, so 4 times a year. And when it comes up, all I can say is it's going to get dealt with the work we do, but I don't have a podcast episode on it. And I find that our podcast episode is this living library of information, both for my clients who honestly still use it a lot, even our clients who graduate and their symptoms are gone, they'll still email us and tell us they love the podcast. But it's also great, of course, if you're still trying to heal and you're like, what the heck is going on? And you're just trying to orient yourself to what to do. So we are finally diving into restless leg syndrome. I'm going to start with my story because that is one of the things that shocks my clients the most. It's one of the symptoms I talk about the least that I had when I started getting symptoms as a kid in middle school. I only got really sick once I was out of college, but I 10 out of 10, I was on a PPI in middle school. I was on anxiety medication. I was definitely having bowel movement issues where I can remember telling my parents my belly hurts. And my dad, who's a pediatric surgeon, would go take some milk of magnesia all the time. And I'm like, why do I have to eat this thing? It tastes so bad. Nobody else in my family has poop issues. So at least not that they were sharing. So restless leg syndrome was actually one of them. And we found it because I was complaining of fatigue in the day. And I think my family doctor was like, let's order a sleep study, did a sleep study, which I never want to relive again. And they didn't find very much, but they said, but her legs moved a lot. We think it's restless leg syndrome. And I didn't get, when I hear some clients talk about it, they can get an uncomfortable feeling in their legs. It can feel like stuff is crawling under their skin, cramping, just a need to move it. I definitely felt a desire to move my legs, but I didn't perceive it as very painful. It just felt fidgety. without necessarily having any other reason to explain being fidgety. And then, of course, what was happening is it was still going on even when I slept. And so they paired that with some findings on my blood work that my iron was low. And they basically said, well, we know that low iron, or we're seeing that low iron can be a driver, or there's somehow connected to restless leg syndrome. So here's an iron pill. Since you have low iron. And so I took the iron pill, and I remember doctors or my mom being like, how are you feeling? And being like, I don't think I notice any difference. And my mom being like, I think I see something. You seem a little better. And I wasn't overly impressed as a kid. And yeah, I just had a lot of other issues. Like looking back, I had all the warning signs of other issues going on and things we're going to talk about today that can be drivers for restless leg syndrome that are connected to all the symptoms I was having. But I had fatigue, I had insomnia, I had acid reflux, so I was on a PPI, I had poor digestion. All of these were clues that something deeper was going on, and I was just getting Band-Aids. And I didn't know. I was 13, 12, 11, something, very young, middle school girl who just only grew up in a conventional medicine home. So now, after years of craniosacral therapy training and visceral manipulation training and being a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner for 8 years, I can see what was really happening. And when I say 8, I actually mean 5. I'm doing the wrong years. I've been working in health for 8 years. I've been a functional FDN for 5 years. Anyways, so I can see what's happening and what was going on in my body and why I don't have it anymore. And I mean, it would have went away years ago, probably before I even got married, because of the work I was doing on my body. But let's talk about the real root causes behind restless leg syndrome. So what is actually going on? Like, what is the function? So the most common theory, though there is a set of new ones, I actually did some research, kind of like, am I up to date on my RLS understanding? There was a new theory. It's not like the one everyone's accepting, but there's two main theories now. But the main one that's been predominant is that restless leg syndrome is your body or your brain needing oxygen, and your body is fighting for it. So when you're in your sleep or as you're falling asleep, your body needs to, like, your heart rate reduces. So you have less circulation of blood, your breathing and your respiration slows. You don't take as deep of breaths, which should normally be fine if you have everything else is working well. But if you have other things that make it hard for you to get a full breath, make it hard for your body to get oxygen transport, aka low iron, make it hard to get oxygen to your brain, when you have this lower respiration, lower heart rate, slower blood flow and circulation, that causes an issue. And so your brain is wanting to be in a sleep mode, but then it's also trying to fight for your life. It's similar to apnea in some way, and apnea actually there can be a connection between breathing issues and airway issues and restless leg syndrome because of how it affects oxygen intake. But you can see people who are sleeping who have apnea that their throat will close. They're still fully asleep. They're sleeping through it because their body is in a deep sleep, which is actually one of the reasons apnea can even be dangerous, is that if you're in a deep enough sleep, your body might not revive itself and shift itself so that you can get into a breathing position, a position where your airway opens again. But then they'll fight, they'll fidget and stuff. So this is basically a theory of restless leg syndrome, but not always airway related, but somehow oxygen related. So it typically happens at night because when you're laying down, that's when your circulation is lowering, everything's slowing down. So that's when the issues are going to come up. So why is your brain struggling with getting oxygen? That is the question if you can answer that question, you will know how to solve your RLS. So let's break down some of the causes of difficulty getting oxygen to your brain. Number 1, low iron levels. This is one we talk about. It's very commonly acknowledged, but here's the problem and why just giving someone an iron pill might not be enough. Most people are taking iron supplements and they might not be able to absorb the iron. And that is not being acknowledged. So This has been an issue that I've talked about long time ago on the podcast on episode 72, why your iron and vitamin D are still low even after taking supplements. It has to do with, like, this is a big issue that doctors will see low iron on a blood work panel and they'll be like, oh, we need to give you iron. But there can be so many other reasons for low iron that is unrelated to your intake of iron. Your intake of iron could be perfect. It could be better, more than good enough, and you still have low iron. And that is not acknowledged in the medical system. So here's some common root causes of low iron, even if you're taking insufficient dietary or supplementing sufficiently. 1, low stomach acid. You need to have stomach acid, proper levels of stomach acid, to absorb iron, as well as other important minerals like zinc and calcium, which we covered calcium in the previous episode. Go listen to it if you want to know more about it. But low stomach acid, it's the number one cause of acid reflux. If you have acid reflux, you are at an increased likelihood of having actually low stomach acid, not high. And I do cover that in episode 284 or 285, 2 steps to reversing your acid reflux for good. I really dive into acid reflux causes. But yes, low stomach acid can be an issue. And then you just want to find the actual root cause. If you want to do like a really quick at-home test on yourself for low stomach acid, there is something called a baking soda test you can do. And I have the recipe and the exact steps to do it in a free handout. Just go to betterbellytherapies.com/constipation or click the link in the show notes on our constipation resource. And it's like on page 2 or 3 that it's just a really short recipe. It's something you do first thing in the morning, 3 mornings in a row. And then you take the average of how long it takes you to burp after drinking some baking soda and water. And it's not like a test they do at a hospital, but that's nice because you don't have to go to the hospital. And it gives you a general feeling on what your acid is like, stomach acid is like. By the way, just a hint, if you do that test and you burp like really majorly quickly, it's like you have barely even swallowed and you burp. And usually these are going to be tiny burps. They're like, boop, boop. It's not like a burp, right? That can be a sign of stomach acid getting into your esophagus. And so what'll happen is the baking soda will interact with the stomach acid that is on your esophageal lining, and then you'll get a premature burp, but it'll be super tiny and like mega fast. Those don't count. You're looking for a nice developed burp that you can get after drinking this. And then I give instructions on like what timing you're looking for. Like it's how long it takes you to burp is what determines, is it high, normal, low, very low levels of stomach acid. And so many of my clients are blown away that they take forever to burp or just don't burp at all. And that's a huge sign of low stomach acid. And maybe you're like, of course I have low stomach acid, Allison, I'm on a PPI. Okay, yes. If you're on a PPI, you want to find the root causes of your acid reflux so you can eventually safely get off a PPI, which I cover these are also recent, just last month. I didn't have this one ready pulled up, but I have a whole episode on PPIs, episode 287, how to safely get off PPIs and reverse acid reflux naturally. So not just saying, don't just jump off your PPIs, be safe, be good, but we've helped clients all the time get off 1, 2, 3 PPIs that they've been on and not have acid reflux because we find the root causes. And I cover that in our acid reflux episode 285. So at low stomach acid, huge thing, going to cause difficulty with absorbing iron. H. pylori infections in the stomach, they will block iron absorption primarily through lowering stomach acid levels. So that's an infection. That is one of the root causes of low stomach acid. PPI usage, which we just covered, and then hidden pathogens, other hidden pathogens. So what happens with pathogens is like, let's say you have a parasite. Parasites don't impact stomach acid levels, but your body is going to try and hide that iron from the parasite so that the parasite doesn't thrive. Well, it's also hiding it from you. And actually that will cause elevated ferritin levels in your blood work. So you could have a hidden sign of pathogen is high ferritin levels, but low blood iron serum levels. So that is something to look for in your blood work. Unfortunately, some doctors won't get both. For some reason, I've been seeing an increase in doctors just getting ferritin and not blood serum, but for a long time it was just blood serum and not ferritin. So either way, you need both to really evaluate it, because they both could be high, they both could be low. You don't really know. You need to see both. But that is one thing, is just having other pathogens. So parasites, Lyme, C. diff, your body's just trying to starve that pathogen, but it's also unfortunately making you anemic. So that's number one, low iron. Reasons that you're going to have low iron unrelated to taking or like needing to take a pill, and why taking a pill won't work, might not work. Number two, poor airway development. So this is definitely in the line of apnea, right? So, but even if you don't snore, or even if you don't snore, or, have apnea so bad that you're on a CPAP machine, this could still be one of the issues in you getting enough oxygen to your brain. So other common signs of airway dysfunction is going to be unrelated to like needing a CPAP, is mouth breathing in the daytime, or mouth breathing when you exercise. Like if you're like, well, when I exercise, I can't breathe through my nose, like I can't get enough air fast enough. Okay, so your airway has not developed well enough. And when you go to sleep and you're laying on your pillow, your head is dropped back. You basically, when you're at daytime and you're standing up, or you're sitting up, or you're just up, you can adjust your head forward and back on your neck to be in a position where your airway is open. But when you're on a pillow, you are subject to gravity and everything falls back. And so if your head and neck don't naturally keep your airway open because of proper positioning and development, then all the coping mechanisms you use when you're standing, you're not using when you're laying down. And so it gets even worse. So mouth breathing when you're awake or for exercising will get even worse. Or like you wake up and your lips are dry, you've got like little stuff on your teeth because you've been breathing through your mouth, your tongue is dry. Any of that can be signs of mouth breathing. Actually snoring, your spouse can tell you, your children, your roommates. I was told I snored so bad. Guys, I had all the signs. I would go on, when we went on family vacations, people would, like my siblings would fight to not be the person sleeping in like the queen beds in the hotels, because they're like, Allison kicks me and she snores and it's loud. And so if they could just be as far from me as possible, I thought it was great, because I'm like, I could sleep on my own. Nobody wants to sleep with me. But I didn't love being tired during the day and on PPIs. And yes, I had mouth breathing issues. I had all this. Chronic congestion can be a sign of poor oral development, because it impacts how the sinuses develop. So if your sinuses did not grow enough because of your airway development was not proper, then it's really hard for your sinuses to drain properly. So you can have just like a chronic congestion issue for a variety. It's a drainage issue. It is also a like clearing of irritants issue is harder when your sinuses are too small. Crooked teeth or a narrow palate. So that's a history of crooked teeth. If you needed teeth removed so that your braces could even work, so that like your dentist said or orthodontist said, there isn't enough room for all your teeth, that is a sign that your entire facial structure did not widen enough. And then frequent cavities or bad breath, because if you are mouth breathing, then your oral microbiome often gets thrown off. So that predisposes you to more cavities and bad breath. So usually solutions to some of these issues are like, we're going to remove your teeth, we're going to give you braces, you're going to take nasal sprays for your congestion, you're going to get fluoride coatings to patch up your enamel erosion. But there actually is a better way, even if you're an adult. Now, if you have a kid, you're like, oh my gosh, this sounds like my kid. Yes, there's even more you can do as a kid. But even as an adult, you can do things to improve your airway health and functioning. So you can do orofacial myofunctional therapy, which I actually have a podcast episode with an orofacial myofunctional therapist who came and spoke on the podcast. It's episode 48. Got snoring, sleep apnea, TMJ, or teeth grinding, you may need an orofacial myofunctional therapist with Madison Scott. She is actually, back when I had an in-person clinic in Ann Arbor, Michigan, she had a room next to me and we would like swap clients and make referrals. And she is great, and she works with people virtually now, just like me. So she's a great orofacial myofunctional therapist. I call them PTs for the mouth. They can actually help retrain your muscles of your lips and your tongue, etc., to function better, so that it actually changes your facial structure, which is amazing. Before and after photos of myofunctional therapy work are wild. And sometimes you will be indicated for other therapies like a tongue tie release or different appliances like a Marpy device that might help actually widen and like break your left and right maxilla to widen it. But not everyone's going to be that way, and it really depends on how severe your facial narrowing is. But if you find an airway expert dentist, they can actually do an airway evaluation on you or your children. Tongue tie releases, again, are going to be something that your dentist, your airway dentist, or your orofacial myofunctional therapist would be able to help identify for you, would be helpful. And then also an ENT evaluation for a deviated septum. So deviated septum is if the bone in your nose is crooked left or right, that can impact your airflow through your nose and force you to mouth breathe. So that can be a huge issue, and it can predispose you to chronic sinusitis and polyps in your nose and chronic congestion. And my brother had a deviated septum and he got it fixed when he was in high school. And I mean, his life changed. He slept so much better. He could just exercise and do physical activity so much easier. So when you fix your airway, you restore oxygenation, and then your body doesn't have to fight. And then issues like RLS and fatigue and snoring and mouth breathing and all of those things can melt away if that is either your main cause or one of your main causes. Because realize you could have low stomach acid and an airway issue. Yes, it sucks, but it's true. You could have both. So it might be one, it might be both. So some other contributing factors that I see, those are like kind of the two big ones for RLS, but there can be some other stuff. And then there's also this like new theory. So the new theory out there is that maybe there's like a dopamine deficiency to RLS because dopamine helps regulate movement. And so if you have low dopamine levels, that might trigger restless sensations. And then interestingly enough, iron still fits into that equation because iron is needed to make dopamine. So low iron can mean low dopamine too. So iron still is like, okay, that explains why irons seem to be helpful. But other drivers of low dopamine that aren't necessarily discussed that in the stuff I found might be poor protein digestion from low stomach acid or low bile production. So, low stomach acid again comes up. And then when you have that poor protein digestion, then you have low amino acids, which are the building blocks of neurotransmitters. So then you end up with low neurotransmitters of all kinds. So that's another thing I've seen in clients is that they're eating sufficient protein, but they're not breaking it down. So they're not building muscle. They're not balancing their neurotransmitters sufficiently. You just want to go back and fix the low stomach acid. What is causing it? Test for it. That's what we do in our programs. We do things like GMAPs to test for H. pylori and look at zinc levels and do all the things in the right order so that your body can then build on itself and start to heal and get rid of all of its issues. So dopamine deficiency was one of those things, but it still felt to me when I read about it, it still points back to iron. It still points back to airway dysfunction. Those are all really great things to still, you can still just deal with the root cause. And it doesn't really matter if it's a dopamine issue, is it an oxygen issue, is it both? You're going to fix the root cause and it'll fix both. Other things that I've seen sometimes impact my clients with RLS is addressing electrolytes. So some of the RLS symptoms that people talk about is like tingling, bubbling, crawling sensations that make them want to move their legs. Well, that also is kind of like mimicking muscle cramping, which sufficient electrolytes or giving electrolytes might help. So take magnesium, potassium, sodium. Those three in particular tend to be the biggest ones. So not just magnesium. And I wouldn't recommend things like Gatorade. I really like a product called IQ Mix on Amazon. Shout out. They're like a cheaper version of Element, which Element's like mass marketed and there's nothing wrong with it. But Element's like really, really salty. My clients who struggle with it don't like how salty it is. And so if you are sweating a lot, you're working out, you drink a lot of coffee, you've had a history of low sodium diets, then just upping your electrolytes might actually be all you need. That would be the simplest solution to this whole episode. And it is a very real possibility. Someone might just need electrolytes out there. And I will put a link to IQ Mix in the show notes, or you just Amazon it, like search like IQ, like I'm smart, IQ. And they have other products. They have like protein bars and stuff. So just look for their electrolyte mix. It's a really good, high quality, high level, high amount of sodium and potassium. And if you're really deficient, which you would need testing, not blood work, it doesn't really show it super well typically, but an HTMA, if your HTMA shows it's really deficient, you could do up to 2 of those a day and be totally fine. So, and then underlying gut or toxin issues can drive RLS, just because gut infections, mold, heavy metals, they can all block oxygen delivery or impact it, and nutrient absorption. So these are things we address in the Better Belly Blueprint alongside your iron levels, stomach acid, gut health markers, all these things that are the root causes for other big issues in your body. So restless leg syndrome is not just something you're randomly dealing with and it chose you and you're stuck with it. It's just a signal from your body. It's data saying, hey, we need some help. And if you can interpret that data well, then you can actually address it fully. So if you've been struggling with RLS, chronic fatigue, bloating, acid reflux, constipation, IBS, any of these things we've mentioned on today's episode, and you want to find out what's actually going on in your body and then develop a plan for getting rid of it in 3 to 6 months, you can work with us inside of the Better Belly Blueprint. We run the exact labs that reveal your root causes discussed on this episode: low iron, pathogens, low stomach acid, and more, so you can finally stop guessing and start healing. You can learn more today at betterbellytherapies.com/blueprint. And just as a reminder, if you wanted to dive deeper into any of these topics that we talked about today, go down to our show notes and you can find all the episodes that we referenced and go deep dive over there and have a great time. So your body is not broken. It just is trying to tell you what you need. And I'm so excited. And I hope that this helped you guys. If you had any questions, come find us on Instagram, DM us, or if this gave you lots of ahas, I would love to hear it. And, other than that, would love to work with you and help you find those missing links in a super fast, efficient way with time-tested, proven protocol templates that you can modify yourself to your unique needs. So that's it for today, and I'll see you guys next week.
Hey friend, I hope you loved this episode. If you've been a fan for a while or newly loving this podcast, can you do me a favor? Drop into Apple Podcasts and leave me a review. When you leave a review, you do so much. You help me know you're listening. You can tell me what you're loving so I know what to make more of. And you help others by boosting this podcast so other people like you can find the podcast too. I mean, it's a win-win-win, right? So if you want a way to pay it forward, just go to Apple Podcasts or click the link in my show notes and leave a rating and review. And if you want some more free stuff, just head over to my free Facebook group, betterbellytherapies.com/Facebook, and you can get access to all of my free support for you, including some Facebook group exclusive stuff like my podcast episode vault, where you can search the Better Belly podcast by topic and find exactly what you need to expedite your healing. I cannot wait to see you in there. Catch you guys next week.